First, good morning, everyone. And it's always pleasant to see more than two people here. In fact, this past Wednesday morning, Dominique said, she said, why don't you and Tabitha take turns coming on? And she said, so we can do what we can to get more people to come out. So she's willing to continue to work with the both of us because she understands, we need to get our people more educated. We've been taken down a trail that is leading us to nowhere, leading us to a lot of dis-ease and more clients for the hospital industry, and they aren't doing what we need. It's too much pharmaceuticals and not enough nutraceuticals. That's why it's really almost like it's like in a crisis, because I don't know who listened in this past Wednesday, but there was a young lady, after I had talked a little bit, and she started, receiving calls. And I talked about, enzymes and all of these things needed to process what you put in your body and why we should eat more raw and, this general information. And a lady called in and she said, well, I can't do that because enzymes make me break out and enzymes make me do this. And I had to say it, and I said it with love because I don't like it abusive. And I told her, I said, enzymes are the staff of life. If you don't have enzymes, you're not here. Yeah. So how do we get so far off base to say that? And maybe some doctor said that to her, and because we've gotten to the point where their word is God. Whatever they say, we take and run with it.
My doctor said.
Yeah, my doctor. Check your doctor out thoroughly and see what his beliefs are. See what he's doing. Or she. And you probably find that it's totally the opposite from what they're telling you to do. There are good doctors, then there are doctors. There are those who really do things to help you recover and get better. And then there are those who just write prescriptions. In fact, 5 minutes after you're in the office, if that long, they already know what they're going to do for you, do to you. And we put so much faith in that, and I just say it like this, until a person proves their wealth and that they deserve your trust, don't just hand it out to you. Just because they are an MD and they have a shingle hanging and you think that everything is fine. Well, my doctor said, and most of the time when I hear that, I say, well, what do you say? And, well, I don't know, they're the doctor. I said, well, you living in the body. You need to know something about it. And we neglect learning because we think someone else is already set up out here. They're graduating and they're going to be coming in. We're going to have lots of doctors, so I don't need to do that. I can just go about whatever. I can do my thing, whatever that might be. But no, you need to know something about this temple. Your body is a temple. And you get one go round. And the better care you take of it, the better your life is going to be. And I don't know how we got to this point in our society where a person can just totally accept and feel somewhat comfortable in their mind that I can take 5, 10, up to 15, I've seen even more than that, drugs, and in a day. How do you get to the, number one, it's not food. It doesn't have the vitamins, minerals, phenols, polyphenols, and enzymes and all the things that we need to sustain life. So how do we get locked into that? How do we allow ourselves to get that ignorant when it comes to this body? you know, it's very dangerous not to know anything about your own body. It's dangerous. Because just look at some of the things that have happened to people, you know, that put all their trust in the doctor. And then they get all kinds of things happening to them, and at the final analysis, they end up leaving here because they had put all their belief in it, and they didn't do anything to find out something on their own. And there are a lot of programs being aired now, and mostly on the internet, because they're not doing it on TV. The truth about cancer. Just recently it was IBS and ISOP, you know, this is dealing with the gut. And the shingles issue that was, you know, brought up a little bit ago. I personally had a shingles outbreak in 1993, 94, somewhere around there. And I have a picture somewhere in my office. I was trying to find it the other day to show someone. I had an outbreak mainly on my back, like this side, shoulder blade area. It was right in that zone. I had one pimple up under my arm that hurt worse than all of them. It was just one pimple. And I didn't have much of anything on the front side of my body. And it didn't cross over to the left. Everything was on this side. And mine was, you know, as far as the discomfort lasted about less than a month. And some people have it on and on and on, and some even die from it. But see, during that period of time, I was well into the herbal and taking care of my body. Now, you say, well, how did it break? Well, shingles comes from the varicella virus, which is chickenpox virus. Everybody in my family, all 8 or 9 of us had 8, because one didn't make it in alive. All of us had chickenpox. We didn't all have it at the same time. But, you know, like one would have it, the next one, and who didn't have it kept going to school, you know, it was at school age. But nothing happened from that until, from say, 8 years old when I had the chickenpox. And 1995, 1994, somewhere in there, I was late 40s, early 50s. That's when it flared up. But it flared up because I was going through a lot of stress. Stressful marriage, working hard, long hours, you know, and trying to keep my health thing going, building it up, because that's what I was doing. I had already left corporate America. So I had to say you had to root little pig or die. You know, so I had to work. So I couldn't stop and take off and say, oh, well, this is bothering me now. So I took some slippery elm and mixed it with some water and made a paste. And I had my friend put that on my back, and I wrapped it with one of these like body wrap gauze cloths. And I had the picture somewhere. I was going to show it to somebody. I was going to show them, you know, what it looked like without the thing. It looked like somebody had put some mud on my back. But I'm telling you, it soothed it. I went to work every day, didn't miss a day, and mine didn't last nearly as long as most people do. Some folks die from it. But it was diet and lifestyle. See, the stress got in there because, like I said, there was some stuff going on in my life that I didn't need, but it was there. And shingles does not have to kill anybody. But the thing is, if your immune system is not strong and you're not, you know, feeding your body right and keeping it up, and if you've ever had chickenpox, there's a possibility that varicella virus will spread because it's in your nerve endings. And that's where I didn't feel, the pain was all right, like on the surface of my body. There was nothing deep that I could feel, say, well, that's something hurting down in here. No, it was my back, and that one little pimple under my arm, and the one on the front of mine was a small spot. And it was less than a month, all the pain was gone, and I was able to stop, you know, putting anything on it. But it took probably 10 years for the discoloration of my skin to get back to normal. Because now, you know, I can stand in the mirror and look, and you can't see it. It's been that way for a while. But before, you can still see the discoloration of skin. And yes, it was painful. But as I say, some people don't make it. because their diets are not the same as mine was at the time. I was like well into natural, and that helped me. It didn't. It probably helped me in the stressful area too, because what I was going through, I made it through it. It say if you're going through hell, don't stop. Go all the way through. So shingles is something that people do check out of here from, because their diet isn't the same as mine was. They may be excreting more stress. It doesn't have to be something to take you out. It doesn't have to, if you can keep a calm demeanor all the time and don't let nothing bother you, you probably would never have a flare. But it's difficult in this society. And there's a lot of things that we can prevent though, or we can shorten the duration of time that we are dealing with this infirmity. And that's why I'm always talking about the diet and what we should be eating versus what we are eating. So when the young lady said the other day on the morning about the enzymes, I wanted to do it in a way where I didn't upset her, but I wanted to inform her of what she could do to help herself. Because in her mind, she couldn't do nothing that had enzymes in it. Well, how do you live?
Yeah, right. Yeah, I heard that. That's crazy.
Yeah, but that's, people perish for lack of knowledge.
Yes.
And if you don't know basic stuff about this body you live in, you put anything in it. So I really wanted to ask him, well, what do you eat? But we moved on. Dominique went to the next person. But that's sad though, to say something like that, which is an indication that the person doesn't know anything about their own body. Enzymes you gotta have those to live. We have digestive enzymes, we have pancreatic enzymes, we have proteolytic enzymes, and they all have a different purpose in the body. But you gotta know they're there and that they have a function, and when you are not taking proper care of the body, or you're putting in the right food or whatever. And see, most of us eat things that weren't designed for us. And recently also I had someone say ask that question to me again about, well, they asked him my blood type. I said, O negative. Well, you're supposed to be eating a lot of meat. And I said, thank you, but no thank you. It didn't work in my body, because that's when I started doing a lot of that, is when I had bowel movement problems and other problems. And when I left the farm in South Carolina where I used to milk a cow, at least we drank that milk because it was not pasteurized, homogenized, or otherwise. It was just, the cow ate it without and ate some grass and grain or whatever, and I milked it. Now, whenever she got a hold of some wild onions, I got it too, because it was the taste in the milk. But now I'm not saying cow's milk is for humans, but growing up on the farm, we raised everything we ate, and my parents lived to be, my father 95, my mother 90. And so there's something to that, but that was a different era. My dad was born in 1890, and my mother was 24 years younger. And he married her, and I asked him once when I got old enough to ask the question, I said, Dad, what made you decide to marry a young woman? He said, because I wanted a young woman so I could have some more children like you. In other words, he knew he couldn't have them with somebody that was his age. That wasn't going to happen. But it's so important what's in your food. And I know, some of you probably do flesh foods, and I'm not here to, point fingers at anybody or anything, but just to share some knowledge. If you're doing it, please do it in moderation. Don't fry it. Find another way of preparing it that your body may have a chance to digest it. Because our bodies weren't designed for flesh. You can look at your teeth, look at the length of your small intestine, about 26 feet. And your colon can be anywhere from 6 to 7 feet. Your digestive enzymes, what we were just talking about, those a fine for breaking down plant-based things. That's why Dr. Baxter Montgomery, if you haven't heard that name, write it down, Dr. Baxter Montgomery. He has this hospital in Houston, Texas. He's a black man. And as I found out from Sister Babette at the stuff I eat, she said, you want to know why he changed his lifestyle? I said, why? She said, he got sick. And which is a good reason to change it. He got sick, and now all he talks about is plant-based nutrition. He has videos on YouTube. He has a hospital in Houston. And he says whenever he's called to assist at the big Texas Medical Center, which he said his hospital is in the shadow of it. He said, when I go there, I can't do what I do in my hospital. I have to do what they do. So he said he gets called on occasion to come and assist. But other than that, all he talks about is plant-based nutrition. And he said that's all the body really recognizes is plant-based nutrition. You put other things in there, they try to do, you put a rock in here. It's got to move it. It can't digest it, but it has to move it. It tries to get it out of the main track because it knows as long as it's in here, it's going to create a problem. So we have to be aware and cognizant enough to know that our main food is plants. You know, fruitarian. But yet, well, no, Dr. Rabb, we've adopted to eating meat. We adapted. Right on, dap on. We have not adapted. If we have, then why we have so much sickness and arthritis and rheumatism and all this other stuff that comes from eating the wrong food? Drinking with meat. So you never eat and drink at the same time. Eating is eating, drinking is drinking. Drink a half hour before and wait up to 2 hours after. If you eat vegetables, you can probably drink a little closer to it than 2 hours. But if you're still doing animal products and stuff like that, you have to give it more time. Why? Because our digestive juices are not as strong as an animal. So it takes more time to break that stuff down if it can really ever fully break it down. And a lot of the diseases that we're dealing with now are caused by the fact that we are eating out of our realm of possibility. We've gotten addicted. And every time I have somebody tell me that we've adapted to eating meat, I don't even talk about it anymore. I don't even say nothing. Because if they believe that, they believe and they're going to keep doing it. And I have them that come for counseling. And when I do the dermagrid scan, it comes back and tell them some of the deficiencies that they have. It's not a diagnosis. It has to stay away from a diagnosis because being a naturopath, I don't diagnose. But it tells them things like, it might mention a system, your immune system. Well, it tells you the purpose of it. But it's in your scan, so it's talking about you. But it's not saying you have, it's just telling you what its function is. You know, the immune system is there to protect the body, to make sure, you know, that the body is healthy. But we have to keep it boosted, we have to keep it up. And you can't do that if you're eating all the wrong food. And, you know, even things like candida, it will say candida, but it's not saying you have. See, if you put that you have this, or if it's just something on the report, then yeah, it's talking about you, but it's not saying you have this. And then it gives you certain minerals and vitamins that you're deficient in, and it puts a time sign and a number to let you know how deficient. If it's a 1, okay, you have a minor deficiency. If it's an 8, you have a serious deficiency. And it tells you also, it doesn't just tell you what, it tells you what that substance supports in your body, and then it gives you a list of plants, and then some of them they have some animal stuff in there, and I just tell people, I said, we're not doing the animal thing. It tells you what plants that you can get these nutrients from. So, you know, you can eat better. It's not everything it's talking about go out and buy some pills or whatever. And so I use that program a lot because it's more user-friendly for the client. Because most people that come, they don't know iridology, and if they want you to tell them, well, what do you see? I say, I see some weaknesses. I see some toxic storages. I say everything but a name of something that has to do with a body part. Because that's where you can get put in jail. Because
Dr. Rabbit, you do see you do see what it is. You do.
You see weaknesses. Yeah, and I'm going to advise them accordingly.
Yeah.
That's the way you do that. But if you start naming body parts and conditions, that's when they want to lock you up. And you know, everybody that comes to me, they have to fill out a form, and on there it says that I'm not here for entrapment. I'm here to learn. I'm here yada yada like that. And I had a lady come in. It's been a few years back now. Mary, my assistant, took the paperwork out to the lady, and she came in my office because I'm waiting for the person to show up. You know, she brings the paperwork back, and she said she doesn't want to sign this. I said, did she read it? Yeah, because I mean, it just says I'm here as a student. I'm here to learn. I'm here to, you know, whatever. I'm not here for a diagnosis or whatever. And she said she read it, but she said she doesn't want to sign it. So I took the paper and I walked out to the front of the building, and I said, "Is there a reason you don't want to sign this?" She said, "Yeah, I just don't want to sign any paper." I said, "Well, then I can't service you." So I turned around and walked back. She left. I don't know why she was there, but it's happened before to a good friend of a lot of ours. And I'm sure, Tabitha, you probably know about that too. Some person showed up with a mic on. I mean, you know, and one thing was said that caused a lot of ramifications. So I don't walk that path. I'm not trying to be medical. I'm staying in my lane. And it's not always the fast lane, it's sometimes the slow lane, whatever it needs. But education is the key to the eradication of ignorance, illness, and disease. The more we know about our bodies and how it functions, and the food that we put in it, the better off we are.
What's the name of the report again that you use?
It's called a dermagrid scan.
How do you spell
DERMAGRID.
it?
In fact, you can go to dermagrid.com and it tells you, you know, the program. You can pull it up on the internet. And it's amazing sometimes. It doesn't amaze me anymore because I've been doing it a little bit over 4 years. But initially, you know, what would come back, even the client sitting there, because I bring it up on my large computer screen, and they can see it, and then it goes to their cell phone most people have cell phones. Or to their email address, so they can click back and go back through it and look at it. So I find it to be quite serviceable. But like I said, they do have a couple more animal things on there that I like, but I just tell them, I said, we're not doing the animal, we're doing the plant-based thing. Let's see, we got 2 hands. We go start back here.
A couple questions. Is this something we can do at your office?
Yeah, that's part of what I do when a person makes an appointment.
And is it covered by most insurances?
It isn't covered by any.
By any insurance?
They won't pay for nothing I do.
Okay.
What is the difference between the iridology and the dermagrid? The difference between iridology and the derma?
The derma will give you specific information, but it stays just short of diagnosing a disease.
A little more detail.
Yeah, it's more, that's why I say it's more user-friendly for the client. Because if you don't know anything about iridology, and I had a lady get real upset at me once. And you know, after I finished, and she said, what do you see? And I said, well, you have some toxic storages in zone such and such and such. I said, you have, you know, I mean, I went through it, staying away from diagnosing anything. And she said, is that it? I said, what am I paying you for? I mean, she got really upset. And I said, ma'am, you paid me for an analysis, not a diagnosis. I said, and if I start naming body parts and telling you this is the disease here, whatever, if that's what you were looking for, you came to the wrong place. That's what they do at the medical doctor. They guess and then tell you something.
Yes.
And usually it's what you want to hear. So I find that this works a lot better for me, and even though some of the people that call they call and they tell Mary, well, I want to get an iris reading. And she said, well, Dr. Rabb doesn't do that right now. He's doing this, such, such. And they come, and after they go through it, I like this. See, never dislike something you don't even know what it is. And the main thing is, I'm there sharing with them, okay, because of what's weak in your body, it's about detoxing. Because the first thing that comes back, it'll say, soothe, balance, detox, or something along that line. Then it gives you a few more words that actually mean doing the same thing. It says strengthen this, or restore. And the last word on the list of things will be restore or reduce, because it's toxins and you got to reduce them. But this is what gets you where you need to be. If your body's toxic, you got to reduce the toxin. If you have nerve system problems, then a lot of times it'll come up nervous system. And I've already, I look at the identified essentials, whether it can be vitamins, minerals, enzymes, things like that. And when you click on, say for instance, it'll say magnesium times 2. You click on that particular line, and it opens up and it says, this is what magnesium supports. It'll give you 4 different things. And the more they come up throughout that program is letting you know that you have weaknesses in those areas. So I don't have to talk about that. I don't have to tell about it. I just show we go through it. So I find it's very serviceable for me. Now, and the reason that I'm not doing a lot of iridology right now, because you see, I'm not a person that wears glasses, but I have this because my right eye is going through some repair, and I refuse to let. I went to one of the doctors because somebody can go see Dr. So-and-so. And I won't talk about it because he's good. He's a nice person. But he wanted to take a laser and put a hole in the back of my retina to drain fluid. Now, I've helped people with my eye wash formula drain their fluid without that. It's just that I wasn't doing my own process enough. So then I just said, let me work harder. And I believe in more electronic or frequency type things because that can help you, but putting a hole in the back of my retina, that didn't resonate. I don't put a hole in anything.
They have to take it out, don't they, to do that?
No. He just takes he was just gonna take a laser and put a hole in the back of my retina. Yeah. And I'm not even, the cataract thing, I don't want nobody doing nothing in my eye.
Me either.
I'm a naturopath. I've been doing this 40 years. Why can't I? It says, what is that? Physician, heal yourself. And see, if I had put in the work that I should have the past year, because it started getting a little blurry over on just this eye, and if I had worked on it the way I should have, starting then it would be better already. It's better, but it's not well, because I wasn't driving for a minute, but now I go where I want to go. I even got my license renewed in July. They only give me for a year, he said, because you got to get it a little bit better, then we'll extend it longer. Well, whatever, I just wanted to get where I could move around and not have to have somebody chauffeur me and call Lyft every day.
Yeah, that's right.
But it's so important, and I love people. I love what I do. I mean, that's one of the reasons why me and that young man sitting back there, we do this because we have like a kindred spirit. We want to help our people. And the reason that I'm willing to sit and let him talk as long as because he's more adept at what he was talking about this morning than I am. I'm heavily involved in other things and a lot of other stuff going on. And I learned too, because a lot of the things he's talking about, I've heard them before, but they weren't fresh, and so now I get them. Yeah. And he does an excellent job at it, so give him a hand.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I remember very well the first time he came to my office. I was in the back of my house. I had a little office in the back off the garage. And that was a while after he had had his accident because, you know, it was better at that point. And then I remember when DeVita had a little place right off of Crenshaw and Manchester. Yeah, so we go way back. And we just made a commitment that we wanted to be here the last Saturday or whatever, some Saturday in the month. You know, because sometimes it's a holiday weekend and we weren't getting enough folks in to be competing with these big holiday weekends because we know where the people are going. We're going to the barbecues and the whatever. But we want to keep it going because we want to educate our people. And there are a lot of people that need to know more about their own body and what the body's food should be so they can have a better quality of life. Because that's what it's all about. Otherwise, you're filling up too many hospital rooms, too many doctor's offices, and all they're doing is writing prescriptions. There are some good medical doctors, then there are some medical doctors. And they are not, they don't have your best interest at heart. So be very careful who you put your trust into. And I had a lady once, and she was probably in her 50s, somewhere around there. But she said, my doctor been my doctor for 20 years. And I'm saying, what did you go to him initially for? Oh, I had high blood pressure. I said, well, that's been fixed a long time ago. She said, well, I'm managing it. Oh, you're managing it? I said, you manage, how you doing that? Well, I'm on this and I'm on. I say, I think it's managing you.